And good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Jackson was sharing some of his hungover experiences as a youngster on Cinco de Mayo. We want you to, if you'd like to, late this afternoon, have an ice cold Key City Mi Vida. It's their Mexican lager out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. Key City Mi Vida. Fabulous beer. If you do celebrate Cinco de Mayo, please do so carefully. Also, the official tequila of the show, Volteo, robreport.com article right here. Dak Prescott is in the tequila game, and his tequila, Volteo, it is 100% blue agave, 100% additive free, and it is excellent. Volteo. All right, we're live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Our guests join us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Justin Parker, Hail State Baseball. They swept Kentucky over the weekend. They now have 10 conference wins and have put themselves in position to make a run at the postseason with Ole Miss at home, Missouri away, and guaranteed, like everyone else, one game in Hoover with the SEC tournament. Justin Parker, good morning. Welcome into the show.
Good morning, Bo. Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. What was your first message to the players last week when everything went down?
Well, they just weren't going to cancel the season, mainly. We were going to have to play it out regardless of our feelings, and, it was obviously a really difficult week. But everybody showed up the next day and went back to work. And, honestly, being back on the field on Tuesday was kind of a nice reprieve from all of it. And, the guys flew around, I think, got their minds off of it. And, it was just one game at a time approach and trying to get through this as a family.
Mississippi State baseball went 4-0 last week, swept Kentucky. Let's talk Joe Powell. This guy had a hell of a weekend, and he continues to play better behind the plate for you. And he's seeing the baseball really well. Tell me what's going on with Mr. Joe Powell.
I think he's just experienced. I think he's poised. I think he's a veteran. He's a leader. He's been through change and dealt with adversity. You guys are probably pretty familiar with his story in baseball, out of baseball, transferring through injuries. And so it's a guy that's seen a lot. He's very resilient. And I think, in times like we're in right now, a guy like that, an experienced leader like that is huge. And I think he's done a really nice job of steadying the ship. He's been really good on both sides of the ball. He's come up clutch offensively. He's turned up the dial defensively and really been kind of a linchpin back there. And so, just look at him like he's an adult. And like I said, times like these, it's nice to have that kind of presence.
Your bullpen pitched really well over the weekend. What grade would you give your guys over the series?
I thought we were good. I thought we were tough. I thought, the difference in this weekend and maybe the past couple weekends is just kind of the stay in the fight mentality. It was, we had opportunities to get out of jams the last couple weekends as well. And I tell the guys this, weekly, there's always a way out. You have the ball, there's always a way out. And we found a way to wiggle out this weekend. So it wasn't perfect by any means, but we've had a really good bullpen all fall for the majority of this spring. We kind of hit a little bit of a rocky spot the last couple of weeks, but you don't just go from having a really good bullpen to your bullpen stinks overnight. So the message was, back to work, back to the basics. You got to believe in yourself first and trust the guy next to you, trust the guy before you, trust the guy after you. And when you come in and inherit runs, take those runs personal. And, these guys see all the work that each other put in. So the preparation and how much they've been through, of course, this week being even some off the field type of difficulties and adversity. So it's just kind of a play for each other type of mentality in the pen and take it personal and pitch much better, pitch much tougher. Really it was the toughness.
Justin Parker on the Out of Bounds Show. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. His squad swept Kentucky over the weekend, huge series, and now they will host Ole Miss. They don't have a midweek game because of exams and so on. Are you glad that y'all don't have a midweek game this week, Justin?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we could all use a little bit of a breather. I'm actually in the office already. I say a breather, trying to get some stuff knocked out here early. I think the players need a little bit of a break. We need to, kind of get away from it. We got exams this week, as you mentioned. We've been running it hard here, and this past week was a very emotionally charged week, and playing two games then on Saturday, and then and with a little bit of a rain delay on the front end and a quick turnaround on Sunday. So I think the guys are probably physically and mentally a little bit gassed, and gives us a chance to kind of recommit to the weight room this week without having to worry about playing a game on Tuesday and get prepared for Friday.
With everything that shook out, did you lean on the veterans on the squad last week?
Well, the veterans on the squad and the veterans on the coaching staff. I mean, we're very fortunate to have really, really good high character men on our coaching staff. We're really fortunate to have really good hardcore leader, stable, young men on our team. Noah Sullivan, Joe Powell, Aaron Downs, Nate Chester, Pico Khan, Evan Sierra, Carson Ligon. I'm going to miss guys, but it's a group of guys that are very very mature, and we leaned heavily on them this week.
What was it like after the walk-off on Saturday night? Every team, any team needs something good to happen. And they hung in there, and both the staff and eventually you get a couple of big hits. But what was it like in the locker room after the game late on Saturday?
Well, I mean, the Tuesday night, going back a little bit, the Tuesday night was one of the most incredible offensive performances, I've seen recently, and going back, 4 or 5 years. It just was so complete, and we did a little bit of everything, and I felt like we did kind of carry that over into the same thing early on game one on Saturday, where we grinded out their starter, elevated his pitch count, got him out of the game early, got to their bullpen early, and then did real damage. And then game two, and historically, I know, the doubleheader has been a huge part of Mississippi State baseball in the history, but, they're very difficult to sweep. And just because human nature, it just almost allows you to take a step back, take a deep breath, feel a little bit of satisfaction, and you take your foot off the gas a little bit while the other team's doing the opposite. They're doubling down and they're pissed. But our guys did a great job of staying poised, staying focused, and staying in the fight. I think our bullpen in game two gave up, I think, one hit after the fourth inning. And it just was, the message was for however long it takes, just hold the line for however long it takes. And, and then when we got the knock to walk it off, we just kind of in the dugout, Goat and I looked at each other and smiled, and, we just kind of shrugged our arms, and, it's just kind of a special night for all the guys, and especially everything that we've been going through.
So you've been coaching for a long time. Did you feel any different going into Memphis or game one, or are you so locked in that you've got, 30 things on your mind? You're still managing the pitching staff and starters and bullpen and all that. But was it a different approach? Was it a different mindset, or was it just business as usual, Justin?
Well, the game was more so business as usual. It's all the other stuff. The preparation, the leading the team, having a message, breaking down game notes, just making sure, all of the logistical things. I mean, it's just, there's a lot more responsibility. So more of the out of the game stuff was a little heavier, a little bit more stressful. The in game, honestly, was a little bit of a reprieve, kind of just back to business as usual, as you mentioned. But, just kind of worked our way through it and try to have fun with it.
Well, I know that you cultivated, look, you already had a great job at South Carolina. And of course, people around here think that you got an even better job at Mississippi State. But, Gotro's been around Lim forever. Cheese, Roger, all those guys. What was that first staff meeting like?
Yeah, it's hard. It's very, very difficult. It's something that none of us foresaw. And, honestly, we were probably all in shock. We found out on Monday, shortly before practice started. We canceled practice, just put our arms around each other and we're understanding that we're going to need each other and going to need each other to get through this, both as a coaching staff and as a team. And you just try to rally the troops.
Have you talked about, as the week unfolded, you went 4-0, you and your staff, and I know you gave the players a bunch of credit too, as you should have, but A- As the week unfolded and now y'all put yourselves in position to possibly punch your ticket to the postseason, is that something you talk about, or is it something that just everybody knows in the room?
And I think they all know. I think we live in the world now where they're all paying attention. They came to this level, because of the exposure and I think they all know. I think they know that, we've dug ourselves into a little bit of a hole, and to get out, it's not going to happen overnight. And, our approach, I know this is cliche, but our real approach is just the most important game of our season is the next one. And so just prepare accordingly.
You know about this rivalry, even though you've only been in Starkville for 2 years. Obviously, last year Governor's Cup and the series in Oxford. This year Governor's Cup was a hell of a game. Didn't go y'all's way. So is that something that you really lean into, or is it something where you know that the clubhouse and the squad knows what's on the line, both as a rivalry, but as we were talking about, to get to a magic number for y'all to, because I would have to believe, I mean, your sole focus is to win as many games as you can and get to the postseason, right?
It doesn't matter who it comes against. I know this weekend is different. It's just, I think it just elevates everyone's week of preparation. It elevates everyone's focus just a little bit. Everyone's on full attention. Everyone here is on full attention right now with what we've been through this past week. So it is nice to kind of have a bye week on the midweek game, so we can kind of get locked back in and focus and really scout them. Although we're fairly familiar with them already from playing them there in Pearl. They're familiar with us. We know that. So it's just trying to manage emotions, trying to play with high level focus, high level poise. We know how much this game means to the fan base. It means the same to us. It's the next game in front of us, but also trying to manage it to where, we're playing with high level focus and passionate, but not emotional, and letting kind of the emotional side. It felt like that was also the message this past weekend, knowing Kentucky coming in, what we had been through, kind of what their stigma is as a group. They kind of want to get a rise out of you. They have a lot of the antics in the dugout and things like that, and it works for them. It's a difficult play style to defend, and that was the message this week too. It's just as the stressors rise, just recenter yourself, refocus, and stay with us and stay within ourselves.
What jumped out at you as far as situational pitching throughout the weekend as the game unfolded? Kentucky having runners in scoring position at times with less than 2 outs or 2 outs, and your guys came up big and didn't allow Kentucky to have that big inning.
Yeah, and that's what's plagued us recently. And it's not just the big inning; it's the massive inning. And with that, typically always comes with some type of a free base, potentially even a defensive blunder, and then a guy bangs out two runs or 3 runs with a big hit. So we've done a lot of it to ourselves. We can afford to give up runs. We know how difficult the SEC is to navigate and how well coached these other offenses are. But a lot of cases, we've done it to ourselves, and we did it a little bit to ourselves this weekend too. It wasn't perfect, but really it was the play style for Kentucky. We knew it was going to present a challenge from a distraction standpoint. They like to run, they like to bunt, they like to do a lot of different smoke screen type things to keep you and prevent you from really focusing in on making pitches. And that was really the message: is can you game manage? Can you focus on making pitches with things going on around you? Can you focus on the short game and the run game and really hold those things in check? And, that's ultimately, I think we really did a nice job of that this weekend. We picked a guy off a second early on game 1 on Saturday. Joe Powell threw a guy out at second in a big situation early in game 3 there yesterday. And I think, if you don't do those things to that group, they just continue to try to push the pace. It's more of they'll do it until you stop it type of deal, and we did a good job early on of stopping it. So we felt like the majority of the rest of the game we kind of just settled in and made pitches.
Justin Parker on ESPN 105.9 The Zone, Hell State baseball interim coach. They went 4-0 last week, and they host Ole Miss this weekend. They do not have a weekday game, as the players will knock out exams and wrap up the semester. Talk about Ace Reese and his play in the field this year.
And he's just getting better every week. He's just getting better every week from the time he got here in the fall. what Coach Gotro has done with him defensively and the tutelage as a defender. And of course, like the offensive side speaks for itself. He's a really, really special hitter. But the things that he's doing now defensively, the confidence that he's playing with, the urgency that he's playing with, and it's just really nice to see. We've really done a great job. I thought all weekend, for the most part, our infield defense was terrific.
Yeah. Before we let you go, Bryce Chance, I feel like he's always making a play, making something happen for your club, and been around a while, mature, gutty, gritty player. What are you seeing from his game the last few weeks?
Well, I think when and everybody kind of, you talk about it in this world, he's just a baseball player. And he impacts so many different areas of the game, whether it's the short game and getting down a base hit bunt and igniting our offense, whether it's a hit by pitch or working a walk or stealing a base or taking away a hit or on, Sunday there in the first inning. I thought probably the key to the sweep was, some really nice defensive plays in the first there to kind of allow Carson to settle in. He didn't get a lot of help last weekend in the first, and then had a really tough time getting traction. And Bryce comes up with a really nice play, and he's able to give us, 3 innings, I think 1 run. And Bryce was the catalyst there, taking away at least a double, maybe a home run. And just how many areas he impacts the game, of course, as well, just his bat to ball skills. He scored the winning run in game 2 of the doubleheader with the double there to start the inning. So it's just a guy that's a complete baseball player. It's a guy that impacts every piece of the game, and he's willing to do whatever it takes, for his team to win.
Did you think y'all made a defensive substitution late in the game yesterday? Michael O'Brien makes an unbelievable catch. When the ball leaves the bat, did you think he had a shot to catch that?
Honestly, I thought the guy hit it pretty good. I thought he hit it pretty good. The ball was carrying better to right than it was left, and that ball was, of course, hit just left of center. That guy's a really veteran hitter. A lot of guys have trouble with Luke Dotson's fastball, but I kind of had a feeling. I even said this in the dugout, like this guy's smart enough. He's old enough. He's their leader and their catcher. I knew he was going to have a better beat on it than most of them, and he thumped it pretty good. I didn't know if he hit it too high. But then as he's going back, I'm thinking, like, shoot, man, that ball's gone. And even when he caught it, I saw him go up, and there wasn't like an initial celebration or response. Everyone in the dugout's cheering. I'm like, did he catch it? And man, then he kind of flexed, and I mean, what an unbelievable play. I mean, that just kind of a special weekend for us. One that we hadn't had, in a while, where guys, I felt like this has happened to us all year, where we're on the other end of that, where when it comes time to win the game, and we're in a lot of these games, and a lot of our losses have come against, when you look at it now, top 5 or teams in the top 10. When it comes time to win those games, somebody else has been the one that's made the play. Somebody else has been the one that takes away the hit. Somebody else has been the one that makes the pitch or gets the big hit. And this weekend it was us, so it's better to be on this side of it.
And Luke Dotson, has he even scratched the surface of what he can be?
Well, he's got such a special fastball, so I'm probably guilty a little bit of leaning on it too heavily. He's got 2 decent off-speed pitches. I think it's one of the best left-handed fastballs in the league, if it's not the best. He's a guy that, we just feel like he's got a really, really low heart rate. We trust him in big moments. I think he's getting better every day, certainly better than he was last year. The velo's growing throughout the season. So I do, yeah, I'm really excited about his growth, and then, what he has a chance to continue to grow and develop into.
Justin, we appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Bo. Thank you.
Hail State interim baseball coach Justin Parker, he and his staff, Gotro and all of them, did a hell of a job last week circling the wagons and keeping the team focused. I thought he nailed it early in the interview where he said they weren't going to cancel the season. And he believes he's got a bunch of resilient kids, and they proved that this past week, going 4-0. They did have an explosive offensive night against Memphis and then came back and run-ruled Kentucky in game 1. So they went back-to-back huge offensive games, and then the walk-off on Saturday night late because of the double header and being rained out on Friday. And then yesterday did a lot of the little things. Yeah, did a lot of the little things to get another dub against a a feisty Kentucky team that didn't want to get swept. And Nick Mingione, the head baseball coach at Kentucky, who was under John Cohen as an assistant, he didn't want to come back into Duty Noble after everything that played out last Monday and get swept by a team that was really scuffling. And now has all of a sudden won 4 in a row. Did you see the jump on the RPI? So, I mean, you kind of have a good one either way. Not everybody, but playing in the league. But Mississippi State jumped up 9 spots yesterday. I mean, they're at 33 now. I mean, they had already made a jump, but then yesterday they made another jump. And I think, there's a shot here at 33. Hey, you're not 53. You're inside the top 35. And you could move up. You're going to have an opportunity to move up this weekend. And Ole Miss is 17th in the RPI after losing 2 or 3 to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is 22nd. So Ole Miss and Oklahoma were battling. Ole Miss at 17, Oklahoma at 22, and then Mississippi State at 33. And kudos to Southern Miss for sweeping Arkansas State. They moved another 3 spots up. Southern Miss is 30. So you got Ole Miss at 17, Southern Miss at 30, Mississippi State at 33. All 3 teams are in the top 33. 2 of the teams know they're going to the postseason. Mississippi State trying to play their way in with series hosting Ole Miss. So they'll be at home again this weekend, hosting Ole Miss, and then going on the road to Missouri, and then everybody gets a game in Hoover. Kind of see how that plays out. But a lot of baseball before that happens. The number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 teams in the RPI or SEC. Georgia, number 1. Texas, Schneck. Well, let's go through. Georgia, Wes Johnson. He went through Mississippi State. Texas, Schneck. Vanderbilt, Tim Corbin. Which they had a hell of a comeback against Alabama yesterday. And Butch Thompson, former Hail State pitching coach, at number 4. And Dave Van Horn, I feel like they are always in the top 8. They're coming in at number 5. The Arkansas Razorbacks. It's Cinco de Mayo, and we want to dedicate that to Jackson Meadows and ice-cold Key City Mi Vida beer. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning was brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go local, go with the home team, as Jake Mangum likes to tell us. Farm Bureau Insurance, hour number 2 coming up. Steve Robertson at 8:30.
Stand by for audio. Got it.
It's 8 a.m., and you're tuned to Mississippi's #1 choice for non-stop sports. The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
Where am I?
On the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Good morning. Welcome in. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We want to thank Justin Parker, Hell State interim coach, for joining us at 7:30 for the SEC Insider Hit, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Call them right now. Competitive rates, favorites.com. And we're live in the Bank Plus studio. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. I've got Jackson Meadows with me. He's already celebrating Cinco de Mayo with the jacket that he's wearing. And because that thing looks wild. It does look like you could be going to a bullfight in Puebla. I've actually been to a bullfight in Puebla. I think maybe I forget every year that Cinco de Mayo comes out of the 1862 war between Mexico and France. But I'm trying to stay up on all that, right? While still celebrating Key City beer and Key City Mi Vida. Key City Mi Vida. Man, oh, man. Made in Vicksburg, Mississippi. It's their Mexican lager. It's delicious. Show is brought to you by Kessler Prime and the Renaissance, KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Amazing steaks, 6 private dining rooms, and award-winning Elijah Craig bourbon, KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Miles says it's Cinco de Mayo and his wedding anniversary. Nice. Great night. Ooh. That's what I'm talking about, buddy. Well, happy anniversary to you and your wife, and I hope you enjoy some good food and whatever your beverage or libation of choice. Don't you think, Jackson?
I mean, if that's your deal.
Yeah?
I mean, go for it.
You were the one that didn't pick up your girlfriend in college because you were partying at the Mexican restaurant for Cinco de Mayo.
Whose fault was that? She had to go to class?
Well, that's true. Do you go to class on Cinco de Mayo?
Absolutely not. Not your senior year.
Okay.
Or junior year, whatever year it was.
Okay.
I didn't go any of the years, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, you did. You went to class.
I love class. I loved school.
You worked on campus.
Yeah, I loved it. Going to class.
That was
awesome.
the deal that finally got me going.
Yeah, same.
When you work on campus, everything lines up.
It is so much better.
And I've worked at the Stennis Institute. John Stennis, the late John Stennis, was a longtime U.S. Senator for the state of Mississippi. And so the Stennis Institute is on campus. And it was fun, and it was one of the easiest jobs
ever.
It was incredible.
Now,
because I'd come out of bartending. I mean, I love bartending, but there's a little bit of work involved there. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to stock and move ice and, stock cases of beer. I mean, this isn't anything crazy. I'm not up on a roof, right?
But you're moving and grooving.
But you're moving, right?
You're not behind a desk.
Yeah. You're moving cases of vodka and cases of beer and tons and tons of ice because we were always busy at Que Sera or Nick's or Shapley's or wherever we were. I mean, it was just insanity. In fact, you want to know a party? Que Sera?
Oh, my God.
Cinco de Mayo? Dude, if that was arguably the biggest party restaurant for a while. For, like I'm not comparing it to the Dock because that's not what it was, okay? The Dock was a full-blown, bar.
Yeah.
And music venue.
Yeah.
If you, yeah. but there was a window there with Que Sera where it was the biggest party restaurant and bar in the city.
No, I can believe
I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
you went through little you had Que Sera. Of course, you had red, white, what am I trying to say? The damn barbecue place on County Line Road.
Red. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was owned by a friend of mine's dad.
It was Red, White, and Blues, wasn't it?
No. And in New Orleans Cafe. Would you put those? So from 1990 to 1990.
Red Hot.
Huh?
Red Hot and Blues or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. From 1990 to 1990, like to 2000, right? I'm going Que Sera as the biggest party bar. I mean, legit restaurant that served good food, but also, and look, the place totally, because I waited tables and bartended there, the place totally changed at like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the only place that served food to good food. I don't even know if you got, I'm talking good food till 1 a.m. in 1997, 98.
Yeah, that's
which means you caught
which
means you caught the service industry.
Right.
And by the way, 99.9% of the service industry was within the city limits because Ridgeland and Madison and Rankin County didn't have any good restaurants at that time. The explosion wouldn't happen for years.
So it was hot.
Hot.
Yeah.
Que Sera at midnight on a Thursday, you better be ready and locked in. Or a Friday night, because they had that huge wraparound deck, and you didn't have that many places like that in Jackson. I agree with Mac, who's listening from Inlet Beach. Poets. Yeah, no, I mean, Poets was a party bar. So Poets, I mean, their food wasn't as good as Que Sera. It was, I guess, service solid. How about that? Because like Que Sera had some items on the menu that were amazing. I mean, Boo and them knew. Actually, they had like over a dozen, which is rare for any restaurant. I mean, you can be a good restaurant and have 3 or 4 items and crush. In fact, you need to kind of tell everybody what you are, right? You need to have that signature dish or po' boy or entree or maybe one appetizer and one entree that gets everybody all hot and bothered, and then you can kind of work back from there on your menu. And you know me, I'm more about a 1-page menu than a 4 pages, because 4 pages reminds me of O'Charlie's. Or
great
something
rolls.
O'Charlie's?
Yes.
I don't believe it.
They had the best rolls.
When people say, I'm like, why? What do we?
They're different.
I mean, a roll is a roll.
No.
I mean, you make a roll at a house,
Absolutely.
at your house with butter.
No.
Why would I go anywhere because of bread?
Well, that bread's good.
It's really not.
Yeah,
it was just artificial garbage that you enjoyed at 10 years old.
Ask the people at Lambert's where they sling the bread at you.
I walked in Lambert's once and Wendy knew it wasn't my deal. I'm not getting into all that cheesy nonsense.
I don't know I think it went once.
Oh, you live. That's right
Yeah,
up Clinton.
once.
That's
It is
right
a
up
Clinton thing.
your culinary palate alley.
Yeah, but we're not waiting that long.
Oh, no, I'm not waiting.
It's forever.
Hell no, I'm not
We
waiting.
went up there. It was a 3-hour wait one time.
I mean, I saw
For
people
people to
waiting
throw
for
bread?
for Starkville Cafe. I'm like,
For what?
dude.
They make
I
it
mean,
up-
I want them to do well, but I mean, it's just eggs, bacon, grits. Let's settle down. All right. The Dancing Rabbit Golf text line 601-885-3776. Let's go ahead and get an out of bounds roll call. Are you streaming or listening on ESPN 105.9 The Zone? Where are you listening from? And what was your takeaway from the weekend? Whether it was the Kentucky Derby, SEC baseball, or there was one other thing I was going to throw out. Jackson Meadows. Starkville Derby was awesome. I called it again. Well, that's what you want to call it. I don't know what we did. But it was so much fun. 80,000 people went. We'll be back in a second. All right, big series this weekend in Starkville. Ole Miss at Mississippi State. And Ole Miss 17th RPI. Southern Miss with the bump after the sweep by Coach Oz and the Golden Eagles. They swept Arkansas State. I think they're the Wolves or something because it looked like, or the Wolf Pack or something like that. Is that, yeah, some kind of Red Wolves or Wolf Pack? I can't. Anyway, I saw it on the Southern Miss Twitter feed. And so Southern Miss jumped from 33 to 30 with the last win and the sweep over Arkansas State. And then Mississippi State, they're now at 33 RPI. They were at 42, and they jumped up, boom, to 33, Jackson, 42 to 33, after sweeping Nick Mingione and the UK Cats. Justin Parker, Gotro, Cheese, all those guys keeping it together, going 4-0. They could have easily been embarrassed this last week, and they weren't. So they have 7 games left, 6 regular season, 1 in Hoover. Could get more. Got to find a way to 14 conference wins. Yeah?
So obviously a lot of people have Mingione's name on their short list, right?
Yeah, that's over.
It's over, right?
Yeah.
That's a done deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's over.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it was ever really in play, because why would you pay $6 million to go get Nick Mingione? That's dumb. I could go get some first graders over here and kind of lay out the scenario and, give them several options, right? I mean, you go and you get a sitting coach and with a max buyout of maybe $2 million. Some of them nothing, $500,000, $100,000, $200,000. Or, if Justin Parker wins big, you hire him. I mean, I could lay out all the scenarios.
Right.
And then I could say, all right, Nick Mingione is at Kentucky. His buyout is $6 million. Do you want to do that? And they would say no. This is collegiate athletics. Really, really dumb decisions are made throughout the country on a daily basis.
Right.
So they're dealing with OPM, other people's money.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of the cause of that, because when you don't have an investment yourself, I think a lot of times it's
careless.
Yeah, and they don't come in through a business background. Athletic administration is very federal government, state government, bureaucratic, layered, heavy. So it's not the private world whatsoever. It's a nonprofit. They don't go to show for profit and so on. Now I don't know if that's going to change in Congress. Anyway, back to where I was going. And the only assistant coach that should be considered is Justin Parker. I don't understand why Mississippi State fans are a glutton for punishment. And I shouldn't say this coming off. They had a magnificent weekend in Starkville. The Starkville Derby, Alden Thornhill has created this festival that brought in 80,000 people. Unbelievable economic, it's like double decker, all these huge festivals, cruising the coast. I mean, they're amazing. And they allow small businesses and restaurants and retail and hotels to fill up, and Airbnbs and so on. But it was a phenomenal weekend with what Alden Thornhill did with the Derby. You had people come in to Starkville from all over the country and had a blast. It was one big party and I was glad the storm didn't come in till 1, because we had been out there for 3 hours.
Right.
And some people had been out there a lot longer, but I got there at 8 o'clock. So I guess I'd been out there for 5 hours, but the storm didn't come in until 1 o'clock. So you were 90% done with the race.
Nice.
But it was really cool. Tito's set up an unbelievable booth. Spring Street Cigars was selling Bocock Brothers cigars, which is they do licensing deals with universities. So you've got an M over S cigar, which is unbelievable. You've got an LSU cigar, Washington Husky cigar, but it's a really nice box. Okay. Honduran cigars. And Coach Polk was at the Spring Street Cigars tent signing baseballs, but you had over 130 vendors all up and down the street from food to all kinds of cool stuff that they were selling. And then the VIP was really nice. We were on the second floor of Two Brothers calling the race, if that's what you want to call it. I had a great time with Bart Heitch and some other guy. I can't remember his name. Hey, Dad. And no, I mean, we all had a blast. It was fun. We got to interview Jeffrey Simmons, JT Gray. They were the grand marshals of the event. Jeffrey made a great speech. His suit was incredible, but JT Gray, like, he's got Lenny Kravitz vibes, and that makes me jealous because, one, Lenny Kravitz is one of the best-looking men to ever walk this earth and most talented, okay? I mean, there's never been a hotel lobby or bar or anywhere that he's walked in where women weren't salivating.
Right.
JT Gray had on this unbelievable derby outfit. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, Luke Abney at the Rogue would have loved it because Jeffrey looked really good, but JT Gray looked great. That guy, he looks like he's like the number one jazz player in the world. And yet he's been able to carve out this unbelievable niche. And he's on his third contract in the NFL because he bought into playing special teams.
Absolutely.
And we have seen, look, we have witnessed Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern Miss players get in the league, and they're not a household name, but they hang out for 10 years and make a fortune.
Yeah.
He's made over $50 million.
That's incredible. I remember when they...
How about that?
I mean, I remember when he started with Saints, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, undrafted free agent.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
Sean Payton and that staff loved what he brought to the table, and he valued that every phase of the game was important, like Dan Mullen and Lane Kiffin and other, top-notch coaches. But JT Gray out of Clarksdale, Mississippi, nobody thought anything about when Mullen signed him, kind of like Elton Jenkins and Benardrick McKinney and Jonathan Banks and all these guys. And JT Gray just got better, and now he's made millions and millions of dollars. He's a cool cat, too. A lot of fun to visit with him, and proud of his NFL career. But I tell you who your number one ambassador is. And, Ole Miss has always had guys that they've rolled out and really pushed as ambassadors. And obviously Dak's become amazing, and Jake Mangum. But Jeffrey Simmons,
Big time. You
should celebrate him. I mean, that guy cheers like crazy in the winter. He stays in Starkville. He's at women's basketball games going crazy. He's at men's basketball games going crazy. And he's on the edge of his seat watching your baseball team play. You shouldn't just love him. You should just, and he is an unbelievable, not just for athletes. I'm talking about for Mississippi State University in Starkville.
Right.
Now, it looks like he's making an investment in Starkville, which is really cool. But he's there for 4 or 5 months during the offseason, and he just loves it. Yeah. And he's a huge Two Brothers fan. He and Barton Dinkins, who owns Two Brothers, are funny the way that they interact because Jeffrey's going to eat at Two Brothers 90% of the time. I mean, he knows where to get amazing sliders, mac and cheese, and wings.
Smart guy.
We had a great time at the Starkville Derby. The food, the music, the vibe, the people, the celebration of wiener dogs and dachshunds. I mean, it's just insane. But kudos to Alden Thornhill and the community and Visit Starkville for rallying around that. And named best large event in the state after year 2. 60,000 last year, over 80,000 this year. Steve Robertson coming up next. Who do you want as your next baseball coach? Got to look at Willie Bloomquist from Arizona State. Doing it with nothing. 14-year MLB vet if you can't get one of the big boys. Back with Steve Robertson in a second. All right, your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. Josh Raggio is ready for you to join the fun and the party at Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. It's right down from Burgers Blues Barbecue, B3 on Main Street. It's in that new development where you see all the cool zero lot line homes. It's behind Half Shell. Raggio Mercantile Shop for your graduation gifts. We want to welcome in Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Steve, good weekend for Hail State baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think probably the thing that my probably biggest takeaway from the weekend was collectively between the fan base and apparently the coaching staff and the players, there was never this fear of losing, right? I think the expectation was to win, and it built upon each game. And just even like that Saturday game out at Auburn last week, State gets up 10-1, and you start thinking, man, there's a lot of game left here. We may find a way to lose this thing. I didn't ever sense any of that this weekend. I think State played with a lot of confidence. I thought the fan base was incredible. And I think this is where we talk about having everybody just kind of coming together. You know, as the team breaks the pregame huddle, getting basically a standing ovation from the fans, and Bryce Chance made that incredible catch yesterday, and you know, he gets a standing ovation coming off the field, and Michael O'Brien. That's what happens, man. Like when guys make big defensive plays, and the next guy's like, "Hey, I want to go do that too," you know. But I thought it was a weekend where State played up to their potential and got 3 wins that they desperately needed, and now that the sentiment around the season has changed a good bit, because now you don't have the midweek. You got Ole Miss coming in this weekend. They're scuffling a little bit, lost 3 of the last 4 series. And it's so tough to win on the road in this league. And I think there's a lot of optimism at State taking that series. And then you head to Missouri, a team that's given State some trouble at times the last few years, but arguably the worst team that's played in the modern era of the Southeastern Conference. And so you start thinking about that. It's like, hey, you win the series against Kentucky, you sweep that one. Let's say you get 2 out of 3 this weekend, and you go to Missouri and get 3 up there. Now you're in a situation where you could finish 500 when everybody left you dead and gone, All
right. So I never, you and I talk all the time about this stuff on the air and off. And they're still in a head coaching search, but they're trying to make the postseason like you just laid out, as they should. I mean, that they should be locked in on this the next few weeks, and they have an opportunity to get there, which would be, because anything can happen once any SEC team, for the most part, gets in the tournament. Now, I never was on board with Nick Mingione, not because of who he is, or he's had success at Kentucky, but $6 million, and this is what I tweeted out. This is not Tony Vitello or Bakich at Clemson or Skip Bertman from 1995. So he was never on my list. And I would have been furious if the Mississippi State administration had, invested $6 million to buy him out to bring him in, because there's other guys that you can get the same results, talent. Do you believe that he's off the table now because of the $6 million and, well, not even really what happened this weekend, but I don't know. You may comment on that, because Nick is still a really good coach, but do you believe that with the $6 million and whatever else that Nick Mingione's off the table?
Yeah, I think that's an extreme long shot. And I felt that way before the weekend, but you don't help. The advocates for Nick Mingione did not get any ammunition to work with this weekend, right? I thought they managed it pretty well. They just don't have the talent, and I think in most years that's going to be the case, but the reality of it is do you get enough juice for the squeeze, right? When you think about where we are from a financial standpoint in college athletics these days, not just specifically at Mississippi State, but just around the country, if you're willing to go write that check, I think it has to be a Tony Vitello or a Jim Schlossnagle or a Jay Johnson. You're right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody that's probably won the whole thing. I just don't know if you can justify that expenditure when it's probably a better use of your money. Do I think Nick would be a good fit here? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
Okay. I think only one assistant coach should be considered, Steve, and that should be Justin Parker. And not right now. I'm talking about if that's where, if they win a bunch of games and Selman and everybody feels like that's the way to go. But I still think the focus has to be a sitting head coach outside of any, and we've named the 6 to 8 to 10 rock stars that you try to poach that for the most part outside of Schlossnagle and Bakich don't really ever leave. My guy is Willie Bloomquist, who's tearing it up at Arizona State with no budget. But there's others in play, and the Will Coggin thing is, I think, been overplayed, and there's obviously some friends and family on your board that are PRing and pushing for him, and that's great. Maybe 6 to 8 years from now. How do you see it on the head coach to assistant coach now that we're a weekend to Lemonis being let go?
Well, and it's interesting. I could make a case to do almost anything when it comes to basically the 3 tiers of candidates. I think, again, ideally you want the sitting Power 4 coach if you can get them. And the problem with that's going to be is, okay, what am I going to get in rev share, right? It's not just about my salary, and that's all it used to be 5 years ago. Hey, what is my salary and what is my baseball budget? What is my pool for assistants? That was very clean and easy, right? Well, now it's like, how much money are you going to give me to retain and build a roster? That's going to be the first question that every coach sits down and talks to Zach Selman about before we even get into philosophical things. And what do who are you and what are you about? How much money am I going to have to work with? And so you have to think about who is going to leave their situation to come to your situation if they don't have more money to build a roster than what they have where they are. That is going to be the real question. That's going to be the challenge. Are we going to provide enough resources to ensure that a sitting Power 4 coach can come here and say, this is a no-brainer. With the facilities and infrastructure and finances I have here, yes, this is the right move for me and my family. I'm going to get my kids out of school. We're going to skip going to Disney this summer, and we're going to go work to Portland. We're going to turn this thing around next year. That's going to be a difficult thing to do. Right? And because here's the thing, as great as much as we love Stargell and Duty Noble and everything else, guys are not going to commit their careers just to come here and put on the M over S unless they know they can win big. The next category, of course, is your G5 coaches. And I think there's only a handful of those that I would even consider because of some of the points we've talked about before. If you've never had to go compete head-to-head with LSU, Ole Miss, or Arkansas for a kid, you don't know what it requires. You may think you do, but you don't know what it requires. And there's a learning curve with that. And it's a different brand of athlete. I mean, it truly is. And then there is the sitting SEC assistant. If they're not an SEC assistant, I'm not interested in talking to them. I'm not real keen on the assistant coach anyway.
No.
But if you are not an assistant coach in this league that knows the recruiting footprint, that knows what it's like to go head-to-head with Dave Van Horn and Jay Johnson, I'm not even taking that phone call. That's how I feel about it. Because if I'm going to have to go hire a first-time head coach, it better be somebody that already understands the landscape and understands the league.
Then that's Justin Parker and no one else, in my opinion. I'm not advocating for him right now. Let's see I actually think he'd be a pretty damn good option. But I think you've got to go ask all the big players. We've been through all those. Make everybody uncomfortable. Make everybody re-up and pay a bunch of money. And then, so outside of that, who's your number one? I'm not talking about O'Connor, Bakich, Wes Johnson. Because I've got Willie Bloomquist. I don't want Pollard at Duke. I just don't feel good about that, Steve. He's been there. Look, he's done a good job, but he's been in North Carolina for 12 years and pretty much his whole life in the Carolinas. And there's something in the water up there because there's just players for days. in North Carolina and South Carolina. I don't know how that happened starting 30 years ago, 40 years ago, but more power to him. My guy is Willie Bloomquist because of his budget, 125,000 NIL and winning, and he's poached a ton of players from this area, including 2 Tennessee players, as you know, from last year. Some people like Fitzgerald, blah, blah, blah. Who's your guy outside of the rock stars? And before you get down to Justin Parker.
Well, I really like Fitzgerald. I think Dan Fitzgerald, and no one knows the league, and he's kind of like, and I hate to say it this way, but in some respects, even though he doesn't have the same tenure, it's kind of like the brand value version of Nick Mangione. What I mean by that is that he has Kansas as a top 25 team. Kansas, a team that a program that absolutely does not care about baseball, right? I mean, you're going to be number 3 there if you're lucky when it comes to sports, because it's going to be men's basketball and then football. And this is a guy that spent some time at LSU, so he knows the league. He's already proven that he can run the show a little bit. I think that's a guy that you've got to consider. And then, listen, I know Orloff hadn't done a whole lot, but when you look at what the Anteaters have done with nothing, that they have nothing out there financially, and you look at where they are and what they could be, I think that's an intriguing name for sure. And listen, the O'Connor thing, my concern about that is, and listen, there's always smoke, right, early in these searches, because a lot of people want their name attached to the searches to better the situation they're already in. I think that might be the case here because when they went through this last year and had this fire drill, and then here we are again. I think he's just trying to better that situation. Not to say that he wouldn't leave for the right circumstance, but again, the initial point, can you make his ability to build a roster easier at Mississippi State than at Virginia? A place that he's been 21 years, and coaches, you don't have the big Power 5 move very often in college coaches.
Yeah, does he have the fire in the belly at 60 after everything he's accomplished at Virginia?
Well, he's not 60. He's basically a year older than me. And so I can promise you.
Oh, he's only like 50. What are you, 52? Yeah. 51?
Yeah, I'll be 53 this year. I think he's 54. But
damn, I just put 6. I'm sorry, Brian O'Connor. I just put 6 years on you. My bad. Okay.
And then you kind of watch your mouth a little bit too, because now you're acting like I don't have fire in the belly, And
oh man, I know you've got it.
So my point being though is, I would not be opposed to O'Connor, but I got to make sure that he is legitimate with this. I can't get so far down the road with him, and then all of a sudden we send him the contract, and he decides, hey guys, I think I'm just going to stay here at Virginia.
Exactly.
They're gonna, and then all of a sudden you're so far down the path, you're scrambling a little bit. Now Zach Selman's a very methodical guy. I know that he is not just going to get tunnel vision about a particular candidate, but that's the
because he did in football, and so he's still learning. He was locked into Jeff Levy in football. You could have poached Brett Bielema, Barry Odom, John Summerall, or Manny Diaz, and we'll see if Jeff works. But there's a lot on the line there. So I agree. Yeah, he had tunnel vision and got locked in football. Is he going to be able to see the whole room in baseball? All right, so listeners are asking, you mentioned Fitzgerald at Kansas, who's had a hell of a year. Bloomquist is 32-17 at Arizona State with a 40 RPI. 14-year MLB. Do you remember when he was the leadoff hitter at Arizona State, Steve, in the late 90s, and was virtually couldn't get him out, hit 420. They played Southern Cal in the national championship, and then he went on to MLB. Do you remember any of that?
I do. And the thing that I go back to with him is, like, one of the things you mentioned, is this a Timmy Tadlock situation, right? Because, Tadlock, it seemed like every year you looked up, he's beating somebody in a super regional, and it's like, but Tadlock's at home, right? Is Bloomquist at home? And is he going to be a guy they're going to choose to invest in? Because they're more likely to invest in their own people than they are just somebody that's passing through and using that job as a stepping stone. It's like Arizona State's a proud program, one of the top 15 programs in the history of the college baseball game. And so now all of a sudden they got things going the right direction. Can you incentivize him to leave his alma mater and come to Mississippi State? That may prove to be a challenge. And one of the things that I want to caution people about now, we see this all the time, it gets out in the college baseball media and people thought, oh, well, this is what's going to happen. Man, these guys in college baseball, it's more fickle than it is in college football. Because a lot of times when you start hearing names in college football, you get the reward, right? It's like, well, once the name gets out there, it's being leaked. I mean, there's so many leagues in college baseball, and we had guys, when Cohen hired Lamonis, we had national college baseball writers breaking news about guys that weren't even candidates, but and how do you know, right? And so, we may have talked to this guy, may have had the introductory conversation just to see if there's any interest. And next thing you know, these people are using it to leverage their own situations. And then all of a sudden your fans think, oh my gosh, our search is in free fall because somebody else broke a story about a guy that never even had a formal interview. And I just want to kind of make sure that people understand that aspect of it. Just because something feels like it's a big deal now or next week doesn't mean it's even the real thing.
Well, they're just getting their buddies. I mean, Kendall Rogers does a great job, but they're also they're throwing that out to get their buddies raises, Steve, which is fine. Yeah. I hope Selman runs it up on everybody in the conference in a sport where ADs don't want to spend money. I hope he runs it up. I hope he puts out, like you said, that kind of conversation feeler, so that guy or his agent can say, hey, Mississippi State contacted me. And while they may not have offered, and the AD immediately, is like, oh hell, we got to do a deal. Like Wes Johnson, run it up on Georgia, run it up on Greg Byrne and Rob Vaughn, run it up on Sully, all these guys. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I'm always about making my opponents weaker, right? And that's an aspect of it. Make people want to spend more than they want to, this whole thing is a will to power, right? I mean, it's not just, it's not just go hiring a coach. I think Mississippi State's got to throw their weight around a little bit. And I had a conversation last week with some people, and it's one of the things that I said. When you get ready to break this thing down and you think about presentation day, right? When you think about the day that I'm going to present the new coach to the Mississippi State fan base, we'll have the big thing at Duty Noble, and everybody will be hot and ready to go get a drink. But which man do you need standing next to Zach Selman that galvanizes his fan base, but also too kind of makes some people in this conference say, you know what, we're going to have to work a lot harder because Mississippi State just got better. When you're sitting down and talking to somebody, if you can't envision that moment, then you don't need to talk to that person. You've got to get this hire right. And it may not be the optics on the front end. It may not be the sexy name the casual fan knows, but you got to go get the guy that baseball people know. You got to get a guy that's going to come in here and be obsessed with winning a national championship. And that's, to me, that's a requirement for employment when it comes to Mississippi State baseball. Don't come up here and talk to me about how you want to host or how much you want to go to Omaha. If you're not committed to winning the national championship, then we can't hire that person.
Steve Robertson, genespage.com on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. You mentioned Willie Bloomquist at Arizona State being an alum. So he's making less than $400,000. I mean, I think you could offer him $1 million. There's rumors that they're going to commit $3 million to the portal. He's dealing with $125,000. I do think the one difference, Steve, in Willie Bloomquist at Arizona State and Tim Tadlock at Texas Tech is that Texas Tech has committed the resources, whereas Arizona State has not.
Yeah, I agree, but that may not stop them though. But and that's the thing about all of this too is like we're all you and I both are just trying to kind of get a sense of what the landscape looks like because this rev share thing changes so many of the dynamics. There's some things that would have made sense 5 years ago that aren't going to make sense now. You'd say there's no way that guy turns that job down. Well, there are a lot of people out there that are going to be thinking, if I don't have the money to build a roster,
exactly,
then there's no point in us having a conversation. Whereas 5 years ago, it's like, oh, I get to go to Mississippi State, the place that Ron Polk built, one of the most prestigious programs in college baseball history. Yeah, honey, call the moving agent. We're going. Get the truck.
Well, that's
together.
my point. Is Mississippi State is going to have the money, and the Arizona. You can pick. I don't know if Virginia's going to have it. I don't. It doesn't look like Arizona State's going to have it. It doesn't look like obviously, like you mentioned, UC Irvine with Orloff, who's done good work there. But they're never going to have $2 million, $2.5 million, $3 million plus to spend on a roster, whereas Mississippi State is. What would Parker have to do for you to, if Zach Selman called you in 3 or 4 weeks and said, I'm hiring him, what would Justin Parker have to do for you to take that call and say, I'm 100% on board?
I think he probably needs to win a regional. And maybe some other people feel differently. I think Parker is going to be a fantastic head coach somewhere. It could be here. But I want to make sure that we avoid the Gary Henderson parallels, because I don't think these guys are at different points in their careers.
No question.
Justin Parker is ascending, and I love Gary to death, but Gary was on the back end of his career, and it's just a different dynamic, right? All the way around. A lot of people would say, well, this is kind of like the Arnett situation. I don't see it that way at all,
no.
Right? And as you mentioned, right after the LSU series, I mean, you're basically giving, Parker the opportunity to prove himself.
Right.
But I think, listen, I see it on social media this morning and last night. Hey, let's just go give it to Parker. I don't think we have to be in any hurry.
No.
And I think, hey, the early returns are favorable, right? But I think something special kind of has to happen because I think this is an opportunity for you to make a generational hire.
Let me ask it this way. There is strong rumors, currency, that Justin Parker wants to stay in Starkville. If you hire a coach and they want to keep him, you think that Parker would strongly consider staying on as a pitching coach since he's top 3 in the country in salary?
I mean, I think that's a possibility, but I think it's got to be the right situation for Park and his family. You know what I mean? It can't be just, okay, well, we just don't want to move, so we're going to hang around. And I think when you begin to consider some of the coaches that are rumored to be in contention, because at this point, just about everybody's a candidate, right?
Right.
Let's say you look at, if you go get a Will Coggin or a Skylar Meade or whatever, somebody like that. I think there's a window for that if Park is receptive to it, right?
I'll just take Justin. Actually, over those two guys, I'll just take Justin Parker.
Yeah, and it may work out that way. But
I mean, I'm not saying it will. I won't. A Willie Bloomquist or that should be the floor, and then we're talking about all these other guys, Wes Johnson and O'Connor. But hell, if it's down to Will Coggin, Skylar, and these are all talented guys, but if it's down to Will Coggin, Skylar Meade, and Justin Parker, you're going Justin Parker if he wins some games on the way out. But like you said, that scenario has to play out, so we'll see.
But along those lines too, I mean, really think about this. I mean, and Park could make.
I've got about 30 seconds, Steve.
Park could make it really interesting, right? If you take the team that was 7-14 and you end up finishing 500 or close to 500 and make a regional and go win a regional, I think you got to make a case.
Right.
That Parker may be the answer. So.
Okay. All right, we'll do this again later in the week. Thanks, man.
See ya.
GenesPage.com, 247 Sports. Steve Robertson talking about, I just don't think O'Connor's going to do it at the end of the day. I think he's going to play Virginia for as much as he can. They'll never give him what he wants, but he's been there forever. Hour number 3 coming up on the Out of Bounds Show.
say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m. and this ain't no K show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Pounds.
All aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Oh, goodness. We are the Out of Bounds Show. ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Spring Street Cigars in Jackson opens today. Fitting that it's Cinco de Mayo. Spring Street in the building where the Rogue Men's Store and Nukes I-55 North Frontage Road. Spring Street Cigars opens at 10 a.m. It's Cinco de Mayo. We'll raise a toast to Key City Mi Vida beer, straight out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. That's their Mexican lager. Got to figure out how I want to do this stand so it doesn't fall on me. I'm not sure about that. I like it, though. I like it. All right, let's welcome in Josh Raggio. Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. Graduation is here. And he's got one of the coolest stores in the Southeast with all kinds of good stuff for graduation gifts, among other things, too. Clients and birthdays and so on. Josh Raggio, good morning. How are you, bud?
What's up, bud? I'm great.
Are you throwing your name in the hat for the Mississippi State baseball job?
At this point, might as well.
I mean,
hey, great interview with Parker, by the way.
Thank you, man.
He's in a tough spot, you know.
He is. He did a hell of a job this past week. Got a lot of 35 years old thrown to the wolves. I thought they did. You know all about it. You played college baseball. It's not easy, and this time of year trying to march toward the postseason. So we'll see. All right. So tell me, y'all have had a good run. You had a great Christmas holidays. You've had a lot of people in the store. Because of you being a duck call maker and a famous duck call maker, you're all tied into all different kinds of people in the hunting and sports and entertainment world. First, let's start with, because you've told me how excited you are to be in Madison.
Yeah, man, it's been great. So I guess we opened in November and really been welcomed with open arms. I mean, I can't thank everyone enough that lives in that area, that's heard about us, has come by, spread the word. Get great compliments on the store. So it's been kind of a, breath of fresh air to be out and be in that area.
So I guess since November, but also right now, give me the 2 or 3 hot items in the Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison behind Half Shell and over in the new development on Main Street.
Man, probably. We always have to. We were the first to bring Turtle Box really to Mississippi. I'm, buddies with one of the owners, and it seems like quite a few folks have them now, but we still, they're flying out the door. I think we still have 4 of the camo special editions left. They only let certain dealers get them this year, and we were one of those dealers. So that's always a hot, especially as we approach summer, right? So beach, pool, just outdoor seating area. The Gen 3s now, you can pair up to 99 of them together. So we can hook them up at your house, Bo, and hear them at the studio. If you had enough of them.
Well, I was one of the first ones to buy one from you. I love it. I got Wendy one of the white ones with the blue, kind of the ocean blue handle, and we use it on the boat, down at the boathouse, on the patio, at the pool. Those things are incredible. My only problem is my son steals it like half the time. But those turtle boxes are awesome. I know. Evidently one's going to be in Starkville and one needs to be at the lake. But, those turtle boxes are awesome. We're visiting with Josh Raggio Mercantile Shop, famous duck call maker. He's from Raymond, Mississippi, and opened up his new store in Madison in November. And it is it's something that you would see in Charleston, South Carolina, or Charlottesville, Virginia. Or like Sedona, Arizona. Raggio wasn't there, but I went through there a couple of weeks, probably 2 weeks ago, and super nice. All right, so Turtle Box number 1, that's a great graduation gift. Give me another one, Raggio.
Yeah, I mean, for these guys that are, if for college grads fixing to hit the business world, briefcases.
Oh, yeah. Leather goods.
Yeah, any type of leather good, from a travel bag to a dop kit to a briefcase. I mean, even kids getting out of high school, they're going to need something as they, go into college. So kind of another what I would say big item. We have some smaller items. I mean, we sell a running ton of men's devotionals. We have some colognes and soaps, and Lord knows they need them in those dorm rooms, right? We've all been there and done that. So, anything from $10 up to, $1,500, we kind of got you covered.
Yeah.
As far as gifts go.
All right. So you tell me, who did you have in recently that you were telling me about? I can't remember. It was like a month ago or 2 months ago. Time flies. I can't remember who.
We had an event, about a month ago where we brought in Turtle Box, some of our other vendors.
That's
Walker
what
Wilson
it was.
Came. Walker's been on your show. Lives in Nashville. Hopefully we'll hear him on the radio sometime soon. Hometown boy. He came and played some music. Half Shell rolled out, a grill and did about 900 oysters.
Dang.
And we're really looking forward to doing a lot more of that type thing as these other businesses around us, finish their build outs and get open. Man, the Village is going to be a really cool place to come visit, shop, eat, drink. It's we're excited about the next 60 to 120 days with our neighbors opening up.
Oh, that's awesome. So I think the zero lot line homes look cool. That little stretch where you're at. So for our listeners, Josh Raggio and Raggio Mercantile Shop, they're right off Main Street, right behind Half Shell. Is that a good way to describe it, Raggio?
Man, that's what we're telling everybody because, with the construction, we're a little hard to see sometimes. So, yeah, right behind Half Shell is what we tell everybody. Most everybody that drives through Madison knows where Half Shell is. So, yeah, behind Half Shell. Come see us.
Are you still 3 years behind on duck calls?
No, I think I've gotten it down to about a year. We actually took a break. I took a break from the order list last week and made 5 or 6 that I just wanted to make. And so I'll be posting those up here either today or tomorrow. If somebody is interested in a handmade call for a graduation gift, they can reach out. I actually have a couple available right now that I just wanted to make. Sometimes you got to keep it fresh and get off the order list and just do something you want to do as an artist. And,
sure.
Kind of keeps the fun in it for me.
I know you made one with Hunter Renfro. Well, you've made a bunch of them with MLB guys, bats. Yeah. Hunter Renfro, Dozier, Jake Mangum, among many. You've got your Dodgers friends, your Astros with Snitker and all that. But you posted something within the last few weeks. You did a collaboration with someone else, didn't you?
Right. Yeah, we did. We did one of Connor Griffin's.
That's what it was. First round pick out of Jackson Prep. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I saw something
right now. Yeah, he's killing it. I think he's the I want to say he's the number 2 prospect in the Pirates organization right now, only because they have a kid that's throwing, 98 to 100 off the mound. And pitchers seem to make it a little quicker to the big leagues, but he's their number 1, fielding hitting prospect right now.
That's awesome.
Doing really well. He's already hit a few home runs, extra base hits. I mean, he's kind of in the top of the league right now, single A ball as far as stats go.
That's
awesome.
Real
honor to make one for him.
Yeah. Okay. So that's who you collaborated with. All right. So go see Josh Raggio and check out. It's still basically new. Raggio Mercantile Shop just opened in November. Had an unbelievable holiday season. And are crushing it this spring, and they're ready to see you for graduation. Squirrel says, I need a leather travel bag. All right, Squirrel, go to Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison. All right, buddy.
Today, 10 to 6.
All right, 10 to 6 today, Raggio Mercantile Shop in Madison behind Half Shell. Be good, bud. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, bud. See you.
Josh Raggio on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Raggio, owner of Raggio Mercantile Shop and Raggio Custom Duck Calls. Back in a second.